Exaro is an investigative website that launched last November. We've got a team of around 30 journalists working for us. They're looking into the issues that matter to business in particular and to the public in general. So Frederika, you've worked for The Guardian, you've worked in radio. How did you get involved with Exaro?
I was recruited to Exaro by the editor-in-chief, and he'd read a story that I'd written for The Guardian, or some stories that I'd written for The Guardian. He was particularly interested in them.
And one of the stories that you've worked on is about Clause 12. Tell me about how you found out about that.
I had a contact who said to me, I think you should have drinks with this gentleman. He's a really interesting bloke. He does lots of interesting stuff. He was a lawyer. He's a human rights lawyer. He said, go and see this human rights lawyer. Just have a drink with him. Just make friends with him. He's really interesting. So I went for a drink with a human rights lawyer who, you know, we had coffee and we sat down and we talked about his cases. And he gave me some ideas, which were great, but they turned out to have been fairly well covered already. But whilst I was checking that out, I had a conversation with someone else. Someone in a back office very casually said to me, that's not where you want to be looking, you want to be looking here. He directed me to some paperwork in the Commons, which was really difficult to read. It was really obscure. It was an attack on your right to see a lawyer when you're arrested. So, which is a basic right, and it was if it had been passed, it would have given the coalition government the power to means test access to a lawyer in the police station. So you wouldn't automatically be granted access to a lawyer. It could have gone through, and it could have been a catastrophe. So we wrote about it. We caused a bit of a fuss. There was a bit of a Twitter storm. You know, we gave it a name. We made Clause 12 a bit more of a celebrity, and it was eventually, we think, overturned. Although it's still, they've promised they will overturn it, but it's still there on paper. We'll be watching for the final stage to see that it is actually deleted from the bill.
And how hard is it to get to the bottom of a story?
Incredibly hard. It sometimes feels like a war of attrition. I've got a story that I started in July that I have put in 120 FOIs on to piece it together, to get a national picture of how the thing that I think is happening. You know, they can take forever.
What is it that drives you or interests you about being a journalist?
I love being a journalist. I think journalism is an excellent job for really nosy people, really inquisitive people who just need to know the answers to questions. So it's just, you know, it's a dream come true. You wake up and you think, oh, I wonder why that's happening, and then you go and you find out why that's happening or how that happens, and it's great. It's just following your own interests. And generally, if you're interested in it, if you want to know why £10 billion has moved from here to here, then somebody else probably wants to know as well.
To keep up to date with the stories that Frederika and the rest of the team are investigating, just go to our website, that's www.exaronews.com, or you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.